For us right now, I mean, this whole NAB this year is a little bit different. A lot of our clients looking either going to the cloud, migrating to the cloud, um, or going back into more of a hybrid mode. And it's really kind of a mixed bag on what they're wanting and needing, and it just kind of depends on the cost structure and managing costs and things like that. So it's kind of what we're experiencing right now.
When you're involved in these conversations, are most people on-prem right now and are wondering about how to use the cloud, or how do you burst out to the cloud, or how to have a hybrid strategy of their operations?
Mm-hmm.
What are and what are some of the considerations that you bring out to them that they should be aware of?
Yeah, most are on-prem now. So we've been selling licenses and mini servers and so on, and storage. We help sell a lot of servers and storage. So over the years, most have been on-prem, and then right now it's a dab into the market or it's a full-blown upload. So we've had clients to where they've lost all of their IT, or they've lost the ability to budget more IT to help them run the eMAM system. So they have basically just moved everything to the cloud. And the nice thing is that we'll have like a template for them to move everything up to the cloud and be able to do that kind of migration and so on. So there are about maybe 20-25% of those are moving full cloud, full storage, everything up in the cloud.
Right. And so some of the benefits are just a managed service. They don't have to worry about the IT piece. They don't have to worry about the storage management piece.
Yeah.
You're utilizing the correct type of storage for the workloads that are being utilized.
Yeah.
So they're not overpaying, over provisioning, and underutilizing, which typically would always happen, when you have that sort of fixed cost,
Yes.
infrastructure in place. I find that in talking with customers and so forth, that the first thing is trying to give them an understanding of, what actually is the cloud, what's there, and what controls do I have to put in place so that I can ensure the integrity of this real extremely valuable content.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I talk to a lot of customers, that are certainly your customers in the same sense of trying to move operations, is the importance of access control lists, the importance of being able to ensure a continuity and a chain of custody to that content.
Yeah.
Are these things that your customers are aware of, or do you have to bring that out to them in terms of you should be aware of security and certainly just the reliability, right? A hard drive can fail,
Yeah.
right? As we all know.
Yes. And that's the one thing is that most of them don't realize that they're used to they're in their own network and in their own environment, right? So now it's like I'm releasing my valued content and so on up into the cloud, and so the knowledge of the security levels, I would say less than 10% of the customers that I talk with even know, they know all about it, but the rest of them do not. So 90% are like, well, what kind of security levels do I have? What permission levels and things? So our systems in general can offer control of the media, but then there's a whole environment secure level of accessing. So most of the platforms provide that for us. Then we also need to meet certificates like SOC 2 and various things to also put on the environment, and also our system to be able to then to manage and control that media. So most of the clients have no idea about it, but then you have clients who are fully invested in it. Their IT departments are hitting us up on secure requirements, certificates, and various things that we have to go through, and then also our people have to go through as well.
Yeah,
So
it makes
we're having to keep up.
it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Certainly for some of these highly regulated industries,
Yeah.
where SOC 2 is important. Is you can't even have the conversation without passing that particular
Yes.
SOC 2
Yes.
cert and the audit trails that might ensue, and it's just part of the whole services agreement piece
Yes.
of it. I am curious, what kind of productivity examples, or what are customers saying to you after they've been utilizing the application and utilizing the services? What are they realizing in terms of those benefits that that eMAM and the cloud or a hybrid model have provided to them?
The key was centralization. So of that content and accessibility and control of who gets to access that media that's been uploaded. So several clients here over like the last 3 days have been, we've got drives everywhere. We don't know where the media is. That's one thing. So it's getting the centralized side of it. And then also assigning users to certain projects and media, and through the MAM system being able to do that. So with permission levels and user groups and various things, they have now see a vision of the control of that and being able to control, but then also assign, and then somebody gets a notification. Like you get an email that you're on a new project, and the camera folks have just now uploaded all the media. Right. And you just get a notification from eMAM, and now you start working on the the process and the project. The other thing is that obviously with the COVID and everything else and pandemic, everything went remote. And so there's some in the office, there's some remote. They're either downloading or they want to work from the cloud. What is really interesting is a lot of folks are actually looking to put workstations in the cloud and work from the cloud and go directly to the storage. And then of course also that media also needs to be available to folks who are in the office, which are very few, but in the office there and managing that. So the MAM system, from a productivity level, we just increase their vision of all that media, where it's at, and then who's working on it. We keep track of history, who's worked on it, and then of course when it's output and ready to go, those features are ready to deliver that media as well. But again, we just give them more vision now of that media and more feeling secure that the media is in a place that it's being backed up as well. Right. With the archive side, but that it's available, and we're not going to lose it. And the other thing is not being duplicated.
Right.
That's the other key thing for us.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of key subjects here, right? Because implementing something new that is no longer within your four walls, right? That you can see, touch, you know how that works, etc., etc. And implementing it, somewhere else where you don't go, you don't probably even know where the data center is. Correct. Right? It shouldn't be a concern, right? And you have to remove that friction. And the other aspect is the nature of these projects, in and of themselves, require distributed teams.
Yes.
Right? Because you don't want talent coming to a place. Talent doesn't want to come to a place. They want to stay where they are, mm-hmm. and you can tap into the best talent, that's out there, for the particular project. Yes. And so a lot of the friction comes when we want to add a new person to a project, or we want to change the roles of someone, right?
Yes.
And so that has to be really, really easy. So your example of, here's a link, you're on something new, your content is there.
Yes.
And you can start working on it even though it's still coming in, right?
Yes.
So really, really critical, to be able to accomplish. I think the nature of being able to work on multiple projects as well.
Yes.
And come into one, hand it off to someone else, go into another one, yes. Work on that and hand it off to someone else. That increases efficiency, right?
Yes.
So I would assume that you're starting to see, because of this flexible infrastructure and this orchestration layer, more projects being able to be handled in that same amount of time.
Yes. And that's what's really key for a lot of our clients is they're working on thousands of projects on an ongoing basis with, tens of, 100, few hundred editors at any one point in time. One client's got 250 editors, 250 plus camera folks. They have 30, 40 projects going on each day, and they're quick, they're turnaround. Now the other thing too is that with the MAM being able to control the media and make it accessible, is they're also working on different projects with different applications. So like After Effects, a Premiere, a Resolve. And so the combination of that and then being able to manage all the projects inside of the MAM system in eMAM, and then being able to check in, kind of check out process, but then also sharing projects with someone that says, hey, I've done this and I've had all the color effects and things that I've wanted to add to this. Take this as a template and then start a new project. But the MAM was keeping that. And it wasn't on somebody's desktop in Timbuktu and saying, hey, I need that file, can you get it to me, and so on. So with the MAM system, it also centralizes those projects and then makes it quite easy to kind of manage all collaborative projects going on.
Yeah, and I think also, simultaneously you're addressing the issue of disaster recovery, or addressing the issue of backup and archive.
Yes.
The last thing anyone wants here is a drive that's not going to mount, that has critical footage of historical value.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And another aspect of this is, once you have that common interface that you've put in place, the ability to tap into content that really has value and can be reused,
yes,
becomes much easier. What are some of because I know that at the show you're introducing some new features and there are new things on the roadmap. What have users been asking you for, and what are the reasons behind that? What are you implementing?
Yeah, it's so the disaster recovery side and archiving and making sure things are backed up. The tools that are inside of the MAM system, being able to then set and preset like times of, like if somebody doesn't touch a project in 30 days, it automatically goes to archive. We've got clients who actually archive immediately to archive, but keep in production storage the media that they're going to use, and of course the projects as well. So we can manage all that process. Nobody has to worry about it. It's already being automatically done in the back-end system and so on. So we manage based on dates and times of things and items that have been touched, what projects they're part of, and then be able to archive an entire project in media and get it off the production storage and do all those kind of things. That's what they're looking for, is that control, to be able to automate as much as possible. So nobody has to sit and go, oh my gosh, I forgot, I got to log back in and archive that project because I didn't do it. It's going to do it automatically for them.
Right. No one wants to be in the situation of having, footage that has been untouched for 90 days sitting on the high tier, most expensive storage,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because with that kind of volume of projects, and you don't have that IT personnel, that can scale to that. You just don't have the people there,
yes.
right? It all has to be an automated, process. I am curious a little bit about if we wind back the clock a little bit. I think that there are some lessons that that we learned, when we started Avid, for example, and when we started that, really it was tapping into the notion that content creators will use every possible minute and second to try to hone and create the best version of that content, right?
Yes.
Now, in the world of, as we know, back in ancient history, not so long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Videotape editing, not to mention film editing.
Yes.
It was hard to change. The order of things, obviously, right?
Yes.
And that's what digital nonlinear editing brought us, right? You could
Yes.
change your mind without losing it, to use one of the keystone phrases when we started Avid back in 1988, 89.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious about, your view from the customer's perspective, on that ever decreasing amount of time that they get, because from the camera to consumption has collapsed and decreased so much.
Yes. Yes.
So, what are your users experiencing in terms of, well, we don't have 3 weeks to do this anymore. We
Yes.
might not even have 3 days to do it.
Yes.
How is that transition been happening as you interact with customers? Because, when you have those collapsing time periods, the only real way to do this is to have a strategy where you can scale those operations, especially if you're using 5 different people to, for editing, for visual effects, for titling, for 3D animation, and so forth.
Yeah. And so in some cases on the video side and various things, like if you're editing concerts or sporting events, news and things like that, we do have options where we're actually logging and live and editing while it's coming in. So that's helped in a big way. Being able to process the media. They can even create assets while it's being recorded. So we're using technology like from Drastic Technology up in Canada. They have helped us with definitely workflows where example is Ontario legislation. They record hours and hours of footage, but
in fact, they're mandated to do that.
Yes.
To make it publicly available.
Exactly. And so what they're able to do then is pull that off while it's going on. And even by lunch, when they finally take a break or something, you can also post that quite quickly. And then all of the effects and everything coming from all different sources, being able to centralize that's helped in the process of being able to access the media quite quickly as well. So a lot of these guys, they'll have graphics being worked on, they're waiting for the graphics. And we actually have placeholders where you can start putting in metadata and various things that may be a part of the project that you're going to need later on. At least you can get that started and get it logged and then get it organized within the MAM system. Somebody could be working on color for some of the shots and so on that they had in Resolve or Avid or somewhere where they're getting that. Those items then are uploaded quite quickly up to the MAM system. But then somebody who's doing the final, they're all seeing this happening and coming in and just hitting sync in, like, say, Premiere or Avid or whatever, or Resolve, and just getting the updated content that's coming in. Resolve is quite interesting, where most everything is done simultaneously in the same app with color and with and editing,
editorial,
and editorial. So it's quite interesting how that's all playing. But knowing that it's all accessible right here, it's in fast production storage. The other concept, or another feature set, or whatever, technology-wise, is using workstations in the cloud, where the media, as it's coming in some cases it's a growing file, they can actually see it and start editing while it's coming in as well. So not only will we have it in the MAM once it stops recording or it's been streamed or something of that nature, it's fully accessible by them. They can start seeing it and editing it as it's coming in as well.
Yeah.
So a number of different things that we've kind of combined to kind of quickly turn things around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so from a creative aspect, I think we've covered that in terms of what this enables the creative teams to be able to do, especially as they're dispersed and certainly not even located potentially in the same state or potentially in the same country, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that's important here is, reliability of the user experience, right? So, dealing with latency, making sure that, there's not stutter, making sure that, it's something that really is responsive is important.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the predictability of the cost structure, predictability of how much it will cost to not only run the software, how much it will cost to access it through, a cloud provider, and how much it will cost to store intelligently according to those storage tiers that are appropriate for the content and the amount of access and the frequency of access. These are all things that need to be in place for cloud adoption to occur, and for us to all sort of remove that friction in that process. So those are some of the things that you've addressed inside the company and that you're providing to the customers as well. I think from my perspective, having been in this industry for 3 decades now, and we've gone from purpose-built workstations to appliances and data centers, to software running on very on just common off-the-shelf technology, access through laptops that you can expand and pay as you go, and also pay as you grow in organization. And I think that's important as we look at companies that are of all sizes, right? And so, for example, at the company that I'm at, Alvarez and Marsal, we work with corporate performance improvement. We help corporations with mergers and acquisitions, the reskilling of individuals, and so forth. And this becomes really important when you're looking at all sizes of companies in the media and entertainment industry, in the cable media and entertainment industry, because you may have 500 people working on projects, you may have large events and so forth. You may have also merged with an organization, and you're looking at what are the most efficient ways for us to acquire, make, transform, and distribute content, right? And so, we can help in terms of looking at those solutions and so forth, and helping to make some recommendations of what are the best ways to go about it,
Yes.
better ways to go about that. So you're removing redundancy that actually interferes with the content creation process, and also potentially is really affecting your CapEx and OpEx spends. So there's a lot of, to use the word synergy again, but there's a lot of that, as we look at all sizes, of an organization involved in, what we call, the sort of telco media technology, practice that we're running. So, I think it's, and I think one of the other things is that, eMAM's been doing this for a long time. So you sort of understand the historical problems, and because of the amount of users and the amount of content that's going through these subsystems that you're operating, you have a good bead on where things are going, and some of the challenges and some of the opportunities as well. So, I mean, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you today, Chuck, and
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me.